So this advice that you will hear a lot in the red pill, I'm going to tell you what it is way off, right? It's really wrong. It's very common to hear amongst red pill, self-improvement, manosphere stuff. And I was actually a believer in it myself. I fell for this one. And that advice is that you should get as much experience with as many women as possible before choosing to settle down with one woman. So date multiple women, sleep with multiple women, right? I'm sure you've heard it. I used to think the same thing. It kind of like seems to make sense, right? Oh, you've got to get experience with women so then you can understand the good women and the bad women and the good traits and the bad traits. You can see the green flags and the red flags, and then when you come across a really good one, you'll identify it because you've got all this experience and blah, 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 and you've slept with so many girls and you're good in bed and all this stuff, right? Seemingly made sense, except when you actually look at it and you look at the research, and I pointed this out before in other videos, actually the most successful relationships, the ones that last the longest, least rates of divorce, highest rates of happiness, highest rates of sexual satisfaction, are the ones that actually sleep with the first person, actually marry the first person they sleep with. And the more people that you sleep with, the more people that you date and so on, the less likely you are to make a long-term relationship work. Why is that the case? Because there's two fundamental core reasons why that is the case, especially the second reason I'm going to give you. But the first reason, it's like, you know, the Buddha's saying like choice is suffering. And in this case, it's like experience is suffering, because you've had all this experience. Let's say you listen to Myron Gaines and you're like, every man needs 50 bodies before they settle down with a girl. It's like, okay. Now you finally meet a girl. And the chances that that girl is going to be the best you've ever had, or she's going to have the best ass and the best hits, and she's going to be the most bubbly and everything, and every single aspect she's going to have is the best that you've ever had. Chances of that is almost zero. So you'll always have something that is a comparison. You think, oh no, you know, that other girl, she did that better, and the other girl did this a bit better, and the other girl had a nicer ass and better legs, and, you know, was a bit funnier, or whatever it is. You're always going to have that comparison. You always think, maybe I could do better. Maybe I can do better, because I could get this girl and I could get that girl and I can always get better, and this one's always going to compare, and you're never going to feel fully satisfied. That's a big element to it. But the biggest thing that the red pill gets wrong on this is that it has no translation. Dating multiple women has zero translation to long-term relationships. And the reason why is because when you're dating multiple women, you're not practicing the most important part of a relationship, and that is forming an intimate connection with somebody on a deep level. You're not practicing that. You're actually shutting that off. If you're telling yourself that you have to date multiple women and you have to gain experience, immediately you're shutting off this part of you that wants to make deep intimate connections with someone. It wants to get to know them on a deeper level, and understanding, and open up, and have them open up, and I get to understand you and make that connection. You're not even practicing that. In fact, the more you do it, the more you date and don't get that connection, the harder it gets to develop that connection and open up with someone further down the line. Because you haven't practiced it, you haven't trained it, becomes more scary all of a sudden. Suddenly you're getting really good at shutting that side of you off. And when someone actually decent comes around, you're out of practice, and it feels way outside of your comfort zone. You're not used to it. You don't really know what to do. All you know what to do is just, right? It's just the dopamine side of you, and just the fun and the excitement and the dating and the sex and the, you know, and all the game and everything else. But you don't know how to connect deeper, want a deeper connection with somebody. And that's the most important part of a relationship, and that's why it doesn't really transfer. That's why you don't need multiple bodies and multiple women to date. When you go out and date, and now I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying there's probably that maybe there's a bit of a balance in modern day life, right? But it's definitely, you know, your chances are decreasing the more and more women you be with and date and so on. But what if you really value a relationship and that's what you really, really want, then you should go into it trying to make connections with someone immediately, trying to get to understand them, get to know them, and get to show them yourself as well. So that's why this whole multiple bodies, multiple women dating thing doesn't translate to relationships, and the studies back that up. So what do you think, guys?